The mighty, powerful Nissan, Sean Walkinshaw, he's starting in front of Kaka Bueno. Kevin Estre, a man to watch out for in the 650S. He's in front of Nicky Melnov. Then it's Albert Von Turn and Taxis starting the right in Lamborghini ahead of James Nash. Enzo Eid will start 9th on the grid. Then the Rinaldi Ferrari of Marco Seefried. 11th, it's Stefan Ricalmi looking to make progress up the order with his Monegasque teammate. They'll be starting in front of Philippe Salaquada. Then the one Bentley of Olivier Lombard alongside the Mercedes SLS. And on the back row of the grid, it's Tuna and Vasiliev in 17th and 18th positions.
I'm going to keep an eye out on the cars that are on the inside of the grid going up into turn 1. That's directly behind pole sitter Robin Friend. And that, of course, is the MRS GT Racing Toyota Nissan of Sean Walkinshaw, but also the Attempter Racing McLaren of Kevin Estre. Now, both those cars are turbocharged engines, and what a turbocharged engine can give you is a lot of torque. And in a rolling start where you're running at relatively low engine RPM, if you can get those turbos spinning sufficiently, then they've got an enormous amount of initial thrust up the hill, up into Pedicle Bend, whereas a normally aspirated engine, you need to keep the revs higher to reach the best power part of the power curve. So I think inside the Nissan and McLaren, and I would suspect that Kevin Estre, because he is a bit racy, will be looking to make any possibility into a position change.
Around the final corner come the cars to start the 1 hour main race here at Brands Hatch. It's Robin Freins on pole position in the WRT Audi. Alongside him on the front row is Attila Abreu. It's Sean Walkinshaw and Kaka Bueno on row 2 as we wait for the lights to go out here at Brands Hatch and the racing to get underway. 1 hour of action begins now, and it's a great start from Vanthor. The Bentley looks to the inside, isn't quite close enough. Almost clipping the barriers there was Kevin Estre as he looks to the inside, and he's going to get through into 3rd position. No, not quite. It's 4th for the McLaren. So that means that the Nissan's dropped back a bit after a rocket start. Estre looking up the inside, not quite close enough. Now Walkinshaw tries around the outside. This is the rear view of the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari as they exit Druids, and there's a spin. That is Lombard going off in the Bentley, tapping into the barriers. Hopefully it's not going to be out of the race, but there'll be yellow flags up at that corner. It looks like he's managed to get going again. It's 3 wide here further back as Alexei Vasiliev comes under pressure from Fabian Tuna, but up at the front, great start from Robin Freins. The Nissan got a great initial getaway, but then dropped back, and it's side by side between Estre and the BMW as they come under the bridge, and it looks as though Estre's going to hold on around the outside. No, not quite. Kaka Bueno into 3rd.
Well, Kevin Estre was the one of the two cars I thought would make a lunge down the inside into Pedicle Bend. He did it. He got past certainly the Nissan, but didn't quite squeeze past one of the two BMWs, but tried again into Hawthorns, but couldn't quite get the job done further back through the field. And you can see there's the number 4 ID, and it's just through Sheen Curve, trying to get through single file. Yeah,
that's James Nash trying to put a move on Marco Seefried in the Rinaldi Ferrari as they come through the left-hander at Sterling's and out onto the start-finish straight again. And Kevin Estre is darting around in that McLaren. He knows he needs to get through sooner rather than later as they head out onto the main straight and over the line to complete lap 1 of this 4-kilometre Brands Hatch circuit. On the brakes into Pedicle Bend. A look towards the inside from Marco Seefried. He's not going to be quite close enough to make a manoeuvre, so it's Freins, then Attila Abreu, Kaka Bueno, Kevin Estre, Sean Walkinshaw and Albert Von Turn and Taxis, the top 6. So Von Turn and Taxis has made a good start. He's managed to get a position. On board, down into Graham Hill Bend, and look at how close Kevin Estre is, coming down into Surtees. Is he going to send it up on the brakes? Oh, the BMW came across very late, and Estre really had to get out of it, and that is going to put him under big pressure from Sean Walkinshaw.
Indeed it is, but look at McLaren back again on the tail of the BMW. Estre was going for a gap. There's always a closing gap, so he had to turn back to the right to avoid it this time. Looks to go around the outside, but no room to do so.
I thought he was getting pushed onto the grass there for a moment, but Kaka Bueno gave him just enough room. That is all allowing Sean Walkinshaw into the fight. Lurking in the background as well is the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini of Albert Von Turn and Taxis as we come down into Dingledell on board with Walkinshaw. Seefried is trying to get through past Nicky Melnov behind as well as they come into Sterling's Bend, but an action-packed opening couple of laps here at Brands Hatch. It's Robin Freins leading the way. Someone's just run a little bit wide, but no attacks being made just yet as they come into clearways once again.
So the McLaren of Kevin Estre is consolidated after that very tight moment to go into Surtees, tailing the second of the two BMWs, Kaka Bueno, as Attila Abreu manages to eke out a half a second advantage, but it's Robin Freins in the Audi who's pulled away 3/4 of a second gap at the end of lap 2.
So he is up. Oh, and there's Marco Seefried into the barriers. No, he's kept it out magically. He's lost a lot of places, though.
I could hear the money going ka-ching. That was going to be about $50,000 worth of bodywork. But he kept it off. A great bit of driving by Seefried to ensure that the car didn't end up in the tyre barrier.
On board we go with Marco coming down into the left-hander of Graham Hill. Is there any move this time from Kevin Estre as they swing out through the long left-hander at Surtees? That is battling going on as Enzo Eid is battling with Marco Seefried now. So that means he's lost out and all the way down to 14th position.
Yeah, mate, he's gone across the gravel. His tyres will be choked full of the detritus you get when you go through a gravel trap. It'll take it a lap basically to get them all cleaned up and backed into proper condition. In the process, it's allowed Enzo Eid to get through in the number 2, Andy.
The 83 Bentley has rejoined the race. Olivier Lombard, but he is down in last position. The driver who's running in the Silver Cup, but this is the menacing view of Fabian Tuna right up behind the 333 Rinaldi Ferrari that's already had a trip through the gravel. A little dummy this way, dummy that way, but not quite close enough, and it's a shame because Marco Seefried is a very, very quick racer, and Tuna's got up the inside coming into Stirling's, and as they come down towards Clearways, they're going to emerge side by side, and he's lost. I wonder if he's got a problem.
He's got into the pits.
Yeah, so that's not good news for Marco Seefried at all in that Rinaldi
and the
Ferrari.
similar thing happened, not quite for the same reasons, but into the pits as was in the qualifying race, now in the main race. So whether that's a cut, again a tyre that's been cut down as a consequence of that trip through the gravel, or whether it's something else. Robin Freins, the 2 Brazilian BMWs, Kevin Estre again giving no rest whatsoever to Cacabueno, and they were looking at the left rear. Is there damage more than just to the tyre? Certainly having a look at, it's quite doing the...
Not quite sure what they're doing there, but here's the battle for 3rd position. Cacabueno under huge pressure from Kevin Estre on the run down into Hawthorne. Bueno covers the inside line again. This time Estre is almost on the grass again, but he's not quite close enough. Can he get the cut back into Westfield Bend? Has a little think about it. Not close enough. At the moment, Sean Walkinshaw, though, can't stay with these guys and is under pressure from Albert Von Turn and Taxis behind, as out of the pits goes Marco Seefried, now a long way down in the order. The start of car 2 is under investigation, so that's Enzo Eid potentially getting yet another penalty. Look how hard Kevin Estre's pushing all over the curbs and the grass on the exit of Stirling's, and he is really giving Cacabueno a hard time. The Brazilian earning his money here today as they come out through Clearways.
Well, Cacabueno is very accustomed to close racing in Brazil and the Brazil Touring Car Championship, and he's not going to be phased by Kevin Estre one little bit. But it is the American driver in the McLaren who is doing all the real racy bit of racing we've seen so far, with just 7 minutes of this race.
Out through Druids they come, and there is Sergio Jimenez, teammate of Cacabueno, the man in 3rd position, and a little bit of a grimace because he knows Frenchman Kevin Estre is all over the back of the BMW Team Brazil car as they come along the Cooper Straight into Surtees. That's Rob Bell, teammate of Kevin Estre, so we've got teammate watch going on in the pits as we have car watch going out on the circuit, dropping down again. This is where the BMW is at its weakest. It's very good through the corners, but on the straights it doesn't quite have the straight line grunt, although here he's managed to hold that position. Yeah,
but the thing is that the strength the BMW has is getting off the corner with that additional downforce. It then loses at the very end of the straight, but of course it means that the McLaren can't get sufficiently close to make that opportunity where the McLaren straight line speed might pay benefits.
Robin Freins leading the way, just under a second clear of Attila Abreu in 2nd place, who's just at the fastest middle sector of anyone. So he's taken 1/10 of a second out of Freins so far on this lap. So the battle for the lead is in no way over, but the battle for 3rd place is very much the one that's on at the moment. Also, Nicky Meyer-Meldoff and Albert Von Turn and Taxis are having a great little fight a little bit further back, just flashing into shot there. But it's the 3rd place battle that comes across the line. Again, with 0.2 of a second between Cacabueno, multiple Brazilian stock car champion, and Kevin Estre behind him. Up the hill, into the right-hander. And you can see Bueno turns in nice and early, just in case there's a late move.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing the right thing. He's just protecting his own position. He's not doing anything that is considered incorrect. But again, coming down through Graham Hill Bend, the McLaren slides over the run-off curb on the outside of the corner, but isn't able to get any benefit. And consequently still within the same, well, half or quarter of a second, whatever it might be. And again, coming on the straight, because the BMW is getting on the power that little bit sooner, it gives that an initial advantage. Then the second half of the straight, McLaren can come back, but of course not enough of the racetrack remains before you get into Hawthorns.
The Rinaldi Ferrari is out of the race now by the looks of things. They've pushed it back into the garage, so it looks like a retirement for Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler. A real shame for them after starting in 10th place on the grid, having had a real hard fight in the first race after getting a puncture on the first couple of laps. But it's Robin Freitz leading the way. Battles further back here are between Enzo Eid and Anders Fjordbach. Then we've got the second McLaren of Fabian Tuna, but here it is, nose to tail again for third place, and it looks to me as though Estre is closer than he has been before, heading towards Paddock Hill Bend. Is he going to be close enough to send a lunge up the inside? No, but he gets the Brazilian BMW to cover the inside. Doesn't quite manage to get the apex then in the end, Estre, so he can't get the switch back into Druids.
You know, Caco Bueno is a very, very capable, accomplished race driver, not just driving a racing car. He knows precisely how he can use his car to spoil any opportunities for Kevin Estre, and knows by putting the car just sort of in the middle of the road on the approach to Paddock, you can't go around the front or you can't go around the back.
Here's a look at the replay of the start then. Robin Freitz got a great getaway. Kevin Estre, in his desperation to get through, almost clipped the barrier on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. It was the Nissan that got a great initial getaway, but then got sort of shuffled back in the pack a little bit. Who else made big progress at the start? No one really. Von Turnen Taxis held his position well on the inside there, in front of the WRT Audis, and then it all got a bit busy there. I think Olivier Lombard lost it by himself. This was the rear view from the Rinaldi Ferrari, so a rocket start actually from Marco Seefried, making up a number of places, which makes his retirement even more of a shame, as he then comes up on the run into Druids, and then he would end up getting involved in some fights. We've seen that Audi coming into this camera a couple of times today. There's Enzo Eid fighting his way through, and someone going on the grass there.
Well, that was the Bentley, I think we saw, just getting clipped.
No, I think it was Stefan Rakelmi in the WRT Audi, and the Bentley lost the ball by himself.
On its own, yes, it was self-induced, Olivier Lombard.
Frustration for Olivier Lombard then, as this was the view on board. Oh, just snapped away from it.
I think something went wrong with the back of the car. That was not a driver error. There's something all of a sudden gave way very quickly. So they did come in and change a wheel, but
now they've retired from the race. So
yeah, I mean, it was a very sudden, and not a driver-related issue.
And something that was a driver-related issue is a drive-through penalty for Enzo Eid, that number 2 Audi. Penalties left, right, and centre today. I think that's their third of the day, and this time for a jump start.
Well, they got the 30-second penalty in the first in the qualifying race, and that put them back in the grid. And another penalty for being a little bit hasty.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's not good news for the number 2 car of Enzo Eid. He is only running down in 13th position after what looked like a really strong start to the weekend for he and Christopher Mies. Here now is Albert Von Turnen Taxis running in 6th position in the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. He's just in front of Nicky Mermelnov, who in turn is less than a second in front of James Nash, who in turn is just half a second in front of Philippe Salaquada. So this battle over 6th through 9th is very close indeed. Stefan Rakelmi not quite able to keep with them, and it looks as though the BMW Team Brazil car coming out of the final corner has run onto wide and onto the gravel, so I think that could allow Kevin Estre through. It has. Yeah. So Kevin Estre goes through into Paddock Hill Bend. Yeah,
I mean, basically that was pressure, and Kevin Estre had been asserting it from the start of this race. He got the result he wanted, that BMW running fractionally wide in the exit of clearways, and then Estre was up and running up the inside of the BMW, up into 3rd place. Now he can focus on the second of the 2 guys, Attila Peru. But again, that's slightly further down the road. It's probably the best part of 1.5 seconds.
Here's Alexei Vasiliev going up the inside of Lee Moll, and this is the battle over 13th position. They've got Olivier Lombard further back as well as they come up into the hairpin at Druids. So that's Alexei Vasiliev into 13th spot. And so 47 minutes to go here, and that must be frustrating for Caco Bueno, because actually the challenge from Kevin Estre had just stopped a little bit, and then he made that mistake. So that'll be a particular source of frustration for him and the Brazilian team.
Well, you know, that's what happens. You might think the pressure stopped. You might have just momentarily relaxed. Maybe you had a little issue in the car. You just let it run slightly too wide, trying to get the maximum exit speed from a car. You want to release the car as early as possible, to get the car as straight as possible, to get power down and get the drive off the corner. And that's all it takes. Just make a minute error, and a driver like Kevin Estre is not going to be asked a second time to take advantage of it.
Now here's Albert von Taxis going side by side with Meir Melnoff on the outside in the Phoenix Racing Audi, absolutely side by side as they come over the start-finish line. Von Taxis gave the Audi a little bit of room, which was good to see, and now he'll go late on the brakes into Paddock Hill Bend and try and switch back to the inside line, but Von Taxis is far enough ahead and knows that's coming. Not quite able to do anything about it. It was side by side further back, and I think that means, as we see here, Marcus Winkelhock giggling away watching the action, but Stefan Rakelmi has now got past Philippe Salaquada on the run down into the first corner. Meir Melnoff goes wide, as he did in race 1, and that could put him under pressure from this man, Stefan Rakelmi.
Again, going so wide he got dirt on his tyres. That's going to slightly hamper him on the exit out of Surtees. So not only has he dropped back from the car, he was basically in a battle with Alex von Taxis. He's now allowed himself to fall into the hands of that sister Nissan. Audi.
Yeah, my apologies. That's James Nash that was doing battle with Philippe Salaquada and has held on to that 8th place. So it's still Stefan Rakelmi lurking further back in that black and red car there in car number 3 in 10th position at the moment. The gap at the front is up to 2.1 seconds. Robin Freins ahead of Attila Abreu as this battle continues. Down into the left-hander of Sterling's and out onto the straight again. And if you look at the top of frame, you'll see the BMW running wide, dipping his wheels into the gravel, and that was all it took for Kevin Estre to say, merci bien, I'm coming through.
I mean, and in fairness, it only just caught the outside of the circuit. Yeah. It barely would have required Bueno to check the throttle, but was enough for Kevin Estre to realise that this is my chance. I've pushed, and I'm now getting the opportunity, and he didn't ask twice.
And now he's starting to close in on Attila Abreu in front of him. That last lap, he was half a second quicker, and he's only 1.9 seconds back down the road from the second place car. So Kevin Estre pushing hard as this battle continues through the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. It's now Philippe Salaquada in the 75 car, up in front of Stefan Rakelmi. So this long queue, Meir Melnoff's gone a bit wide there into Surtees, keeps it together okay, but it's a nice 5-car queue over 6th position. As the man all by himself at the moment, really, is Sean Walkinshaw in 5th position in the Nissan. He's got 3.5 seconds in front of him, 3.5 seconds behind him, so he's just having a leisurely drive so far today, not too busy in terms of action around him and getting attacked or defending. Through Dingle Dell, Meir Melnoff going right to the edge of the circuit there and desperate to try and get past Albert von Taxis, who's doing a good job, Albert.
Oh, absolutely, he's doing a very good job. In fairness, both cars got the same power plant, the V10 Audi engine, so the only differences in the car are the suspension layouts and the aerodynamic qualities. But in terms of overall lap time performance, the Audi right now isn't quite capable of restraining Albert von Taxis, and Meir Melnoff and von Taxis are the number 2 driver, let's say, in the respective cars. Nicky Katzberg in the Lamborghini and Marcus Winkelhock in the Audi would be probably a little bit quicker.
The quickest man on the circuit at the moment is Kevin Estre. He was 0.7 of a second quicker on that last lap than anyone else on the track at the moment. The Frenchman has got the bit between his teeth in the number 55 Attempto Racing McLaren 650S, and he's closed the gap down to Attila Abreu to, well, about 0.6 of a second now, I think, because he took half a second out of him in the first sector alone. So Kevin Estre really pushing hard in that battle for second place. Here they come into shot now. There's the race leader Robin Freins in the number 1 WRT Audi, but then it's Attila Abreu, then it's that man there, Kevin Estre.
Yeah, by corner, the McLaren is catching up to the tail of the lead of the 2 Brazilian BMWs. Again, it's going to be the same situation. He catches it. Will he be able to swoop past in one quick manoeuvre, or will he again get caught as he had done since the opening of this race? So the speed of the McLaren in free air, as was explained to us by Rob Bell before the race got underway, is very clear to see. It's just a question of, has he got enough momentum to take him forward?
That is the big question. Into Paddock Hill Bend they drop, plunging down and then climbing up the hill again towards the hairpin right-hander at Druids, but look how quickly he's dropped Kaka Bueno, who's running in 4th position. The gap's up to 4.1 seconds almost instantly. Estre's done the fastest first sector of anyone that last time around, and he was only 0.2 of a second quicker than Robin Freins up at the front, but 0.6 of a second quicker than the second place man Attila Abreu. And there's Walkinshaw coming out of the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend and along the Cooper Straight, but here now's the battle Well, it's like a deja vu a little bit, isn't it? Because it's Kevin Estre versus a Brazilian BMW heading down towards Hawthorne.
Yeah, and all the issues that Kevin Estre had getting past Caco Bueno, he's going to have the same issues trying to get past Abril, because quite simply, the two BMWs have got pretty much identical car setups and car performances. So in the McLaren and clear air, clearly the quicker of the two cars, getting into the dirtier air behind the BMW will then cause the McLaren. See, I mean, he's just every corner just creeping forward. He still has got that momentum, but he's getting into the zone now where it will be an effect from the BMW that will preclude him from making any further progress unless he can force an error from Abreu as he did from Caco Bueno.
There's Rob Bell, the man who's going to take over that car reasonably shortly. Pit stop window opens in 6 minutes time for 10 minutes, and very wide there for Attila Abreu. Is that going to give an opportunity to Estre? Up into Druids, thinks about it, but it's you come in quite early for the apex there at Druids, so there's not that much room on the inside.
No, you can't. I mean,
but maybe down into Graham Hill Bend, Kevin Estre finds the inside line and goes through into second place. Abreu tries to fight back, cutting back to the inside. Estre defends it, heading down towards Surtees, drives in the middle of the road and holds on to second position, and that all started with Abreu going wide at Paddock Hill Bend.
Yep, that takes maybe sometimes 3-4 corners, but that was clever thinking. Kevin Estre caught Abreu completely wrong-footed, didn't expect to see the McLaren coming down the inside the way it did, and once the McLaren was on the inside, it could control the exit of the corner, the run down to Surtees, and never going to be challenged down the main straight, down Hawthorne Straight, because the advantage of straight line speed McLaren has. Up into second place, the gap between second and first would be about 3.5 seconds, and we've got 5 more minutes before pit lane opens.
Yeah, so Abreu running a little bit wide there, but great work from Kevin Estre, as you say, John. 3.
So they talk about sliding it around, a bit like a drifter.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin Estre pushing so hard in that McLaren. Out onto the start-finish straight he comes, because he knows that actually it's only, well, it was 3.5 seconds previous lap. He's been busy overtaking this time around, so it's 4.5 seconds, the gap back. Let's just watch this again, shall we?
And this is what motor racing is all about. When you see a driver in a race car take it to the limit and entertain us.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Kevin Estre pushing super hard then. 4.5 seconds back from Robin Freitz, who's in the lead of the race. Rob Bell enjoyed it, I think. He'll get a new set of tyres, so he's probably not too concerned. He can do what he likes to them. But here's the battle now, continuing for 6th position. Albert von Taxis in the 88 Reiter Lamborghini. Got a bit out of shape coming out of Druids.
Yeah, but what he did was he sort of adjusted forward by going defensive into Graham Hill Bend. Slightly slow on the exit. That gives Nicky Meyer-Melnhof an opportunity once again to get close to the rear wing of the Lamborghini. Different lines coming through Surtees. Von Taxis using what I would call defensive line now, pretty much all round critical corners, so that he would stymie any attempt by Meyer-Melnhof in the Audi to get that run.
So just 3 minutes to go before the pit stop window opens, and I imagine certainly Von Taxis and maybe Meyer-Melnhof will come straight in this battle. We may see Philippe Salaquada. We might see Stefan Rakelmi staying out a little longer. We go on board now with James Nash running in 8th place at the moment, and a bit of a mistake there from Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
A big tank snapper coming off the curb, lost ground to the Lamborghini just ahead, and he almost, in fact, he was lucky to keep the car on track, because it went from right abruptly over to the left, and that's the danger of the curb and the exit of Stirling's Bend.
On board with James Nash into the first corner at Paddock Hill. That has allowed Von Taxis to gain a 0.7 of a second advantage. James Nash just 0.3 behind the man in front. Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, pit stop window won't be open at the end of this lap, so they'll have to keep going out there for one more tour before they can come in, get a fresh set of tyres and get back on their way. Race lead, meanwhile, I'll give you an update on that next time they come through. It was 4.3 seconds at the end of that last lap, so it came down by 0.2. Not enough to make a massive amount of difference, but nevertheless, Estre driving very strongly, and he's taken a 10th out of him in this first sector as well, so that's a gap that'll continue to close. There is the 4 car of James Nash. Strong performance from him so far today, the car he shares with Frank Stippler, and then there is the other WRT car of Stefan Rakelmi running in 10th position at the moment. The Monegasque driver stuck behind the Czech racer Philippe Salaquada, dropping down into the left-hander of Sterling's Bend. Race leaders have just come across the line, and the gap's down to 3.6 seconds, 7/10 of a second on that last lap. So he's taken a second out of him over the last 2 laps as Kevin Estre. And will they be, well, what will the decision be? That's going to be very interesting pit stop wise, whether you bring Freins in as quickly as possible to get Vanthor in the car, or whether they're sort of much of a muchness and you need to stop later to keep the tyres a bit fresher.
The question I would ask is, will they keep Kevin Estre in the car until the last possible moment to let him maintain the momentum he's building up, and he's lapping very, very quickly right now. So would you bring him in and take him out of the car, put Rob Bell in and have to wait for him to get back up to speed, or give Estre, that is, the maximum time in the car to try and do something, while maybe the lead car comes in and hands over to Laurent Vanthor? So all the strategy that goes on in the pit lane, teams are having to think on their feet, and that's what makes a really good racing team. It can think on its feet.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is the continuing battle between Albert von Turn and Taxis and Nicky Meermanhoff. I think Meermanhoff will be getting sick of the side of the back of the Lamborghini at the moment. James Nash has got his lights ablaze. You can see he lost almost 3/10 of a second on that lap where he made a mistake, Nicky Meermanhoff, lap 15. And look how close Riquelme is as well to the back of Philippe Salaquada. Not going to be close enough. The leaders are about to come across the line, so I can give you a split update there. It was 3.6 seconds. Now as they come across the line, it is 3.2, so again down by 4/10 of a second. So it's gradually coming as this battle comes into the final corner at Clearways once more. Pit lane window not open yet, so they're going to have one more tour before we see what they decide to do.
I suspect we're going to see the Lamborghini and probably the Audi running behind it, Meermanhoff coming in relatively quickly, because they'll want to get their, what I would describe as professional drivers, back in behind the wheel. But I have to say, Albert von Turn and Taxis has done a good job in keeping the Audi behind. He's driven hard, he's driven fairly, and he's just getting a bit better by the race.
Yeah, absolutely. A really good race from Albert von Turn and Taxis, and he was running pretty comfortably in second place as well earlier on in the qualifying race too. So pit stop window is open. We've got some visitors. It's Enzo Eid and also Fabian Thuna. In comes the teammate McLaren to the one that's in second place. Not a great weekend so far for Thuna and Vlasic. And this is the squabble over 11th place. Anders Fjordbach up behind the yellow GT Russia Mercedes of Alexei Kadachev. Alexei Vasiliev has just done his personal best first sector of the race so far. He's running down in 14th position. 3.2 seconds now the gap between the race leaders, so it's coming down and coming down. Are we going to see any of these guys come into the pits now? Through Clearways, Von Turn and Taxis is coming in, as is Nicky Meermanhoff, so you should go into team management.
One of my many talents. I don't have to do it, I just predict it.
Now they've just been, so Von Turn and Taxis very careful on his way into the pits to make sure he gets everything stopped in time, so it's going to be a straight pit stop battle between Reiter and Phoenix. And I suppose WRT as well, because Stefan Riquelme's come in, and we've got the 73 Nissan of Sean Walkinshaw into the pits as well, and Attila Abreu from third position. So an awful lot of pit stop action to keep an eye on. Out goes Attila Abreu. He's done in the Brazilian BMW.
And the Nissan had a poor pit stop in its qualifying race. It didn't seemingly have a particularly
got a better one
run.
Here comes Von Turn and Taxis. They're going to go side by side, and Meermanhoff's got the jump. Phoenix are in front of Reiter at the pit stop, so that means Winkelhock is in front of Nicky Katzberg, who is in front of Stefan Ortelli as they come out of the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's just good pit work by the Phoenix team to turn it around, and for Marcus Winkelhock, he doesn't have to worry about not finding a way past a very quick and combative Nicky Katzberg in the Lamborghini. In fact, it might be the other way around. Maybe Katzberg is going to put the heat onto the back of the Audi. Now Marcus Winkelhock is behind.
Across the line they come, the leaders, and it's down to 2.9 seconds. Remember, it was 4.5 a couple of moments ago. So that's good work from Kevin Estre. That last lap he was 0.3 of a second quicker. Here is Robin Freins coming around the hairpin at Druids and dropping down into Graham Hill Bend. That is the visible gap. Even if they do win this race, the number one Audi, I'd be surprised if it's a 26-second advantage at the end, because they're being pushed all the way here by the Temto Racing McLaren.
Well, just lap by lap, Kevin Estra's been taking 2/10, 3/10 out of that advantage. Is just under 3 seconds, 2.9 seconds. There is the McLaren coming on to the straight, and Kevin Estra, he will have the lead Audi in his sights, and that's having a car in your sights is always a little bit of extra momentum, a little bit of extra encouragement to try and get that gap even further.
Into the right-hander at Westfield Bend. Then we've got some back markers further back, obviously, as Kevin Estra turns up into the right-hander, pushing super hard still. It's a tenth of a second slower in Sector 1, but 2/10 quicker in Sector 2. Goodness me! He's pushing so hard.
He's flirting with danger doing that all the time. You do it.
In comes Freins.
Yes, lead cars in.
In comes the race leader, Robin Freins. Oh, I thought he'd gone wide there, but I think he was just pushing as hard as he can.
McLaren stays out, so Kevin Estra takes over the lead. And again, now he's got nothing but clear air ahead of him. He's got the opportunity with, what, 5.5 minutes or so remaining before he will have to come in and hand over to Rob Bell.
So into the pits comes the number 1 car. Laurens Vanthoor there on the right-hand side, getting ready to take over. Freins pulls out his little seat insert and sits Vanthoor in. And they get to work. Ooh, one of the BMWs was coming in as well. That is the 0 car. Meanwhile, here's the attack from Nick Katzberg, trying to get past Marcus Winkelhock as they come up into the right-hander of Hawthorn. Katzberg not quite close enough. Away, meanwhile, goes the previous race leader. And so we'll have to wait a couple of laps to see where he'll come out in comparison to the McLaren. But at the moment, Nicky Katzberg not quite able to get past Winkelhock for what should ultimately be 7th place.
Laurens Vanthoor takes over was the lead car, and once these pit stops wash through, undoubtedly will still be the race leader.
He is up behind the sister 650S McLaren from Attempto Racing, so there could be a little bit of cheekiness here potentially. Oh, let's watch Kevin Estra through here, shall we?
He's been entertaining all the way through the race. Runs the curb, gets the back of the McLaren.
That was rubbish.
This time I would say 6 out of 10 for effort. He's certainly gone over 10. He's had 11 on one occasion.
And he's coming into no, he's not. He's carrying on. Kevin Estra continues out there. Craig Dolby's just set the fastest final sector of anyone. Now he's got fresh tyres on that Nissan. As he comes down into Paddock Hill Bend now, Kevin Estra. And that last lap was a 25.7, which again was a very quick lap time from the Frenchman. They tried to get the overlap when the rivals are out in traffic. Still Nick Katzberg here in the 88 Reiter Lamborghini, trying to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. As I said, I think that's going to be essentially for 6th position overall in the race, and we've got Audi's nose to tail too. So the number 3 Audi has got past the number 4 Audi in the pit stops, and that means that Stefan Ortelli in the 3 car is now out in front of the 4 car of Frank Stippler, and they've both dropped back a bit from the squabbling pair in front. And well, Stippler and Ortelli, how much experience do you want in 2 cars? I wouldn't do the combined age, that would be harsh, but very, very...
Oh! Jeremy Ortelli
needed all his experience.
That's experience. He saved it.
Yeah, it was
but I mean, he shouldn't have been out in that territory when he almost got that right rear wheel off onto the grass. You saw a big puff of green. Let's watch and look at it again. As just too anxious to pursue the car, runs wide, hits the grass, then kicks up green dust, and well, that was a big save. As the Bentley were just following some of the cars running through towards the back of the field, but that was a big save from Ortelli.
Race leader in the pits. Kevin Estra has come into the pits then for his pit stop change. There he is, and it'll be Rob Bell taking over. Very experienced, very fast racer, as they get all 4 wheels change on that Attempto Racing car. Here is our race leader, who's only just got past the sister McLaren. So is that going to play into the hands of the 55 car?
It's going to be very close, because that will have cost the lead Audi, or effectively lead Audi, the best part of 1, maybe 2 seconds. It's all down to the speed of the pit stops. Looks to me like Laurens Vanthoor has got it covered. He's coming through clearways now, and the McLaren is still in the pit lane now, just beginning to roll. Rob Bell a little bit slow and getting the car moving, and the Audi comes and takes the lead.
That's a comfortable advantage, and I think Attempto Racing could lose 2nd position here, because look to the right of shot. Here comes the Brazilian BMW in the hands of a Valdeno Brito, and they are going to go through into 2nd position then. So a slow stop for the Attempto Racing McLaren team drops Rob Bell down to 3rd position, and he is still in front of the 0 BMW, I think, as it all gets very busy further back in the pack. Coming through the right-hander, Craig Dolby's now set the fastest middle sector of anyone as we watch this squabble. Oh, look up the inside into the right-hander of Sheen. That is brave and that is good stuff. And that is Simkowiak going through and taking 12th place away from the Anders Fjordback.
But since Simkowiak got into the Bentley, he's been driving that car really, really quickly. And he pushed him in getting through into Sheen. Normally you'd never expect to see a car go through in the inside.
And it's still side by side here with Simkowiak now coming under pressure from Christopher Meese in the number 2 WRT Audi. Absolutely door handle to door handle coming into Paddock Bend. Adbisa, he's done it round the outside on the brakes. Good work from Christopher Meese as they drop down into the right-hander and up towards Druids. But it's Laurens Vanthoor leading the way then. A really good pit stop from the WRT squad. A weaker one from Attempto Racing. And still this battle rages between Winkelhock and Katzberg over 6th place. They come up now through the right-hander of Sheen.
I mean, Nicky Katzberg did have an opportunity literally on his first flying lap when he got closer to the back of this Marcus Winkelhock driven Audi than we've seen. And now that we're back into the sort of the lappery where the pace is being controlled by Marcus Winkelhock, Katzberg again has sort of stalled out.
So here's a look at the replay. This is
what a place to pass, up the inside into Sheen curve. I don't think I've seen anybody in a competitive context overtake up in there. Forces the Audi very wide, and of course the following Audi and the Mercedes looking to squeeze through. The Mercedes did get through as a consequence of
and there is Olivier Lombard, the teammate of Simkowiak, watching on, and look at the gap there. You can see first and second now, the gap is 10.4 seconds, and Laurens Vanthoor has just set the fastest first sector of anyone, so it looks as though they are going to have an excellent weekend here in Brands Hatch and may well be top of the championship come the end of the race, because the other championship challengers from Nagaro are either not here or not having a very good run at all. 25 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch. Pit stop window about to close, but everyone has been into the pits. Vanthoor has gone purple in sector 1.
And it's just a masterclass. He's just showing you what you can do in an Audi. Outstanding drive.
We can now hear from Kevin Estra, the teammate of Rob Bell in that 55 McLaren.
Kevin Estra, there's been some spectacular racing, but your stint was astonishing. The way you hunted, brilliant start, and then you hunted down both the Brazilian BMWs.
Yeah, it was. I had a good start. It was really close at the start, and then the first BMW was quite a lot slower, but it was tough to pass him. He closed the door every time, and even if I went on the outside, he pushed me a little bit into the grass. It was really on the edge, but at the end he made a mistake. I managed to pass him, and then I catch the other BMW, and he didn't close the door, and I had a good exit. I could overtake him, and then it was tough to come back. I came back a bit on the number 1, but I think I pushed really hard at the beginning behind the BMW, and maybe I killed a bit the tires, but otherwise the car was fantastic, and it was really good racing. I enjoyed it.
But for all your incredibly hard work, it looked as though the pit stop was quite slow, lost a bit of ground.
Yeah, the team is new, and they have to learn this, and we keep improving second by second after every pit stop, but well, we lost a lot of time at the first pit stop in the first race. Now a bit less. It looks like we're still P3, so let's hope for a good pace from Rob, and we'll catch the second.
Good job. Thank you, Kevin.
Great to hear from Kevin Estra, the man who fought that 55 car from 5th on the grid up to 2nd in the race. Now it's back to 3rd in the hands of Rob Bell. Valdino Brito in the 77 BMW Team Brazil car is running in 2nd spot. He and birthday boy Attila Abreu. And then 4th place is Sergio Jimenez in the 0 BMW. 5th is Craig Dolby, who is lapping 0.4 of a second quicker than Jimenez in 4th, and is only, well, that's how close he is behind, about 3 seconds, maybe less than that so far. So that could be an opportunity.
I think this car, the Nissan Craig Dolby behind it, has got a very good chance of getting into context with Jimenez in the 4th place BMW. But what the pace of Laurens Vanthoor, he's lapping approximately a second a lap quicker on that last lap, and his personal best 24.5 is against the last lap 24.7. When your principal competitor is doing a lap time a second slower, it's just Laurens Vanthoor at the very top of his game. And your drivers are saying, where is this pace coming from? These cars are all fundamentally very similar. How come he's so much quicker than the rest of us?
Yeah, it's a horrible
reality to have to deal with.
Into the left-hander come Winkelhock and Katzberg. And Winkelhock still running in that 6th place in the number 6 Phoenix Racing Audi. Katzberg has been chasing him down ever since that Lamborghini lost the position at the pit stops. Phoenix doing a better job in the pits. the 888 pit stop is under investigation when Lee Mole handed over to Joe Osborne. It's a shame that they're going to finish down in 16th. Well, they're running down in 16th position at the moment. Leading Pro-Am is Bernd Schneider in 11th place. And leading the Silver Cup is Simkowiak in the 83 Bentley, running in 12th position. But up at the front it's Vanthor leading the way. He's just come across the line. Is he extending his advantage? Yes, he is. By goodness me, that last lap he was 1.3 seconds quicker than anyone else on the track, Lawrence Vanthor.
But he's been literally every lap he's been on average a second quicker than the remaining cars, and that's including second place Brito in the BMW. So he's just in a zone which is completely different to anybody else here on the track.
So second place is Brito. Is Bell closing in on him 0.4 of a second on that last lap, but he's still 5 seconds back. And Jimenez is lapping at a similar sort of lap time. Winkelhock and Katzberg are closing in on the sort of Dolby-Jimenez battle further in front.
Yeah, but Dolby's also closing in on Jimenez. It was a lap ago just over 3 seconds, now it's down to 2.7. So if they're all actually in unison moving forward up towards 4th place, then Sergio Jimenez. Katzberg just rides the curb coming out of Surtees. The car gets a little bit unstable.
So nervous times for Albert von Turnen Taxis, the teammate of the 88 Lamborghini driver. Let's hear from him.
Albert von Turnen Taxis, you've had a big smile in your face when I walked into the garage. Satisfied with your stint? It looked fantastic fun.
Yeah, it was just pretty close to trading in TV. It was very much fun, and yeah, I think I might have I should have been a bit faster, but I think that Nicky is now behind Winky, and it doesn't look like he has good chances to pass him. They're quite evenly matched, and we've kind of lost a bit touch to the front group at the moment.
But it was a very entertaining battle with Nicky, though, wasn't it?
It was very entertaining indeed. Nicky put a lot of pressure on me and put me into a couple of mistakes. It was quite good fun. Nice to race with Nicky.
Well, great TV too. Well done.
Thank you.
It's hard sometimes. You forget that these drivers have got names for their competitors, and Vinky is Winkelhock and Niki is Mayer Melnhof. And of course they're all German language, German speaking, Austrian and German. So and again Katzberg running wide coming out of Graham Hill Bend. You're pushing. To me, his opportunities have gone. The car doesn't seem to quite tuck in to Surtees as well as the Audi is doing. He's struggling with that initial bite at the front of the Lamborghini, and therefore consequence loses any advantage he hoped he might have going on to this Hawthorne Straight.
To explain the differences in time that we're talking about at the pit stops, WRT Audi, they're the number 1 car, Vanthor and Freitz, their pit stop was 44.8 seconds. The BMW Team Brazil, the second place car, their pit stop was 46.11 seconds, so they lost just over a second in the pits, whereas the Attempto McLaren, the Kevin Estra Rob Bell car, did a 56.06, so 12 seconds slower in the pits, and that's where the time is lost. But this man is losing no time at all.
It's just a metronomic performance. Last lap 24.7, best lap 24.5. I mean, every lap is under the 125. The best we're seeing from Brito in the BMW, he did a 25.6. He got within just under a second of the time done by Laurens Vanthor. Just again, well, obviously in clear air, just driving in a completely different zone to anybody else. He can place the car precisely where he wishes to do on the entry, and then pick up his apex, get on the throttle, and then drive the car off the corner. There's no wasted energy whatsoever from Laurens Vanthor. He's making it look slow, and that's why he's going so quickly.
That last lap was well, it was only 9/10 of a second quicker than everyone else.
Doesn't even run the curb on the exit of. So where's the speed coming from? It's coming from driving a wheel perfect lap.
Now there's a 5-second time penalty to be added to car number 6, which is Markus Winkelhock in the Phoenix Audi, as a result of exceeding track limits. Now that's usually at Graham Hill Bend. Paddock Hill, you can't really exceed the track limits without ending up in the gravel. So that car number 6 is going to have a 5-second time penalty, which will put it behind Nicky Katzberg in the 88 Lamborghini. There you can see confirmation at the top of the screen. So that'll be frustration for Katzberg to an extent, because okay, he's got the place, but he can't make any more progress up the field because he's still stuck behind the Audi in front.
That all happened, actually, I think on the opening laps of this stint that we're seeing Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Katzberg, because there was a moment coming out of Graham Hill Bend where it looked like that Katzberg was going to have an opportunity, but it didn't quite get together going into Surtees, so I suspect it's taken that little bit of time. What was that from Lawrence Van Thor? He seemed to be hanging out very wide on the run down from Graham Hill. Just like to see that one again. It looked as if maybe he'd run slightly too wide in the exit and the car just given it a little kick.
We'll keep an eye out on that one, but it was turn 3 and 5 that the penalty was given for Winkelhock for. So that's Graham Hill Bend, which makes sense. But then turn 5, I think, is here at Hawthorne. So I don't. Can you run wide on the exit?
You can certainly run wide, but there's no significant benefit or gain. In fact, probably it'd be more detrimental to your position or your lap time. But certainly running out of Graham Hill Bend is the corner where you can run very, very wide, and in some cases, if you're in a defensive mode, use that tactic to try and help your defense of a position.
Through the left-hander then comes Marcus Winkelhock, who is in effect running in 7th place now because he's been given a 5-second penalty for that infringement. 16 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch, and Rob Bell is 3.7 seconds behind Valdeno Brito in 2nd place, so that gap has come down. It's not coming down remarkably quickly, and we have only got 15 minutes left, but if Bell can sort of step on it, he might be able to close in a little bit. Winkelhock and Katzberg, meanwhile, are they still closing in on Craig Dolby? Yes, they are, and Dolby too is sort of closing in on Jimenez, but there's only 2.5 seconds between Jimenez and Dolby, whereas it's 4 seconds back to this gang.
I think everybody's had the benefit of the fresh tyres that they would have fitted. They're now running approximately at each running similar speeds, 25.5s.
Let's see if Nicky Melnoff is happy about the penalty he's been given.
Nicky Melnoff, a fantastic battle out there with Albert Fonton and Taxis, but now you've been given a penalty. Explain why you think that happened.
It was a fantastic battle. It's such a shame that that happens now with the 5 seconds, because we had a really good battle. I was teammates with Albert a few years ago, and it was a real pleasure to drive out there and fight really hard. It was hard and fair, and he didn't do any mistakes, and it was really cool to drive. But it's a shame to destroy a race like this with the 5 seconds, because if you look closely, the Lamborghini is doing the same thing exactly like in turn 3, and it's measuring with 2 different kind of rulers, so it's a shame. I mean, we're fighting out there for position, and we'll see what happens. Still 15 minutes to go, so maybe it's pulling away 15 seconds and then we'll be okay.
We'll see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they were teammates together in the FIA GT3 European Championship a couple of years ago, Albert Fonton and Taxis and Nicky Melnoff. Great to hear them enjoying it, but it is obviously a shame when an on-track battle is sort of ruined, but them's the rules.
Yeah, I mean, the rules are very clear, and in particular, I mean, we think it is Graham Hill Bend, although it's seen as turn 5 on the information that we got from the director, that if you run wide there, you can use part of the runoff, but if you get more than 4 wheels over the red and white curb, then you're into a zone. And in particular, that was the way that Winkelhock maybe was using to defend his position from a very charging Nicky Katzberg, literally just, I think, on their first flying laps after their driver changes. And consequently, that might have been perceived to have been an advantage. So otherwise, it might have been a case of Nicky Katzberg getting through. And that's what the race stewards or race directors have decided. There's a penalty, which is a 5-second penalty, and that automatically leapfrogs Nicky Katzberg in terms of position, final position, ahead of the ID of Marcus Winkelhock.
Here's Laurens Van Thor, fastest lap of the race on lap 24, a 1 minute 24.522, and he is, well, I'll let you know in a moment how far ahead he is, because he's coming down to Graham Hill Bend, and the second place car comes across the line now, so 16.3 seconds clear. That is Robin Freins on the left-hand side, watching on as his teammate looks to be taking that #1 WRT Audi to a commanding victory here in Brands Hatch. Really strong performance. The battle we were watching a few moments ago is Marco Asma in 13th place, trying to defend from Christopher Mies in 14th position. That's the closest battle on the track at the moment, apart from Mortelli and Stippler, who are still squabbling over 8th position. The two WRT Audi teammates in 8th and 9th, but Van Thor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was going to be interesting for me is to watch the progress of Robin Freins over the course of this season, because He's new to GT racing. It is a different discipline. The cars are quite different than the levels of downforce that he's accustomed to. But Friends has been a winner in every formula he's raced in, and it will not be very long before he's challenging the out-and-out pace of Laurens van Thor. And you know, everybody's ambitious. Even though you're sharing a car, you want to be the man in that car. Currently it's Van Thor. By the end of the season, you might find Robin Friends is pushing that title.
Yes, Van Thor made a very quick start to his GT racing career as well. In 2012 he entered the FIA GT1 World Championship alongside Stefan Ortelli in a WRT Audi, and won his first ever GT race in Nogaro, and that was after stepping out of Formula 3 races where he'd been on the podium at Macau and raced in all sorts of other series around Europe before essentially running out of the sort of funding you need to carry on in your single-seater ladder, which is a very similar story to Robin Freins. So to now have them together is great news for the championship, maybe not for the rest of the teams because they're two incredibly quick drivers.
Yes, and also WRT Audi are picking up these youngsters who are now being made redundant because there's nothing available for them in the single-seater route. And there's a great opportunity to get into a really outstanding team like WRT Audi and be given a chance to drive both in GT events here, in the sprint event, and then also some of the enduro events along with the Blancpain Enduro Championship. And you can make a really good living, and that's what these racing drivers are trying to do.
The battle for 10th position has closed in rapidly over the last few laps. Marco Bononomi has been caught by Bernd Schneider, but also it looks as though Craig Dolby's getting closer to Sergio Jimenez. There is the 0 BMW, and then there is the 73 Nissan. Actually, Winkelhock and Katzberg have closed in too, about a second quicker on that last lap, so the gap between them is down to just 2.3 seconds. So this could all get going in the last 10.5 minutes. There is Frank Stippler in the number 4 WRT Audi, still just a little bit behind his teammate Stefan Ortelli, with 10 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch, the second main race of the season. Into the right-hander they come. And this is the battle for 10th. Bernd Schneider right up behind Marco Bononomi as they come down into clearways. Bernd Schneider still leading the Pro-Am class by about 15 seconds in that yellow 70 Mercedes.
Yes, and that's their objective. They're here to win the Pro-Am class. They would obviously love to be further up the field, but in the Pro-Am class, that's what you get, a professional driver and a more of an amateur, a gentleman driver. So your compromise is in that particular equation. Up the inside, Bernd Schneider still's got, as he was, well, I hope he's not going to go rubbing too much paint, but the Audi went round the outside and held on to the position. Good driving.
Good stuff from Marco Bononomi. As we say, these two aren't battling necessarily for points because Bernd Schneider is still leading his Pro-Am class up the inside into Surtees now. Again, he was a little bit far back to try that manoeuvre, but they'll be side by side now on the run through Pilgrim's Drop. Schneider on the outside in the yellow Mercedes. On the inside was the Audi. It is still there. Bononomi going late on the brakes. Nothing Schneider can do there. His first experience of this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Well, what you got here is relative youth, 30-year-old Bononomi and 50-year-old Bernd Schneider, but racers to the core and using their advantages and disadvantages. Great to see good clean racing. It got close up at Druids, but Bononomi went the long way around one corner, then he was on the inside for Hawthorns, and it's been, well, that's good racing.
Something that'll wind Marcus Finkelhock and Nicky Meerman up a little bit is that car 88, Nicky Katzberg, has just been given a warning flag for not respecting track limits. So that's an interesting one as this battle for 10th place continues down into Paddock Hill Bend. Bononomi covers the inside line.
Watch for Schneider trying to get it up the inside into Druids, maybe using that little bit of curb. It's going to make it more difficult, but he's having a look. But again, Bononomi is capable of putting the Audi in the piece of road that the Mercedes is looking for. And again, off Druids, the run down to Graham Hill Bend, no threat from Bernd Schneider. Next opportunity, possibly into Surtees, but we've seen what happened when he got alongside previously. It was all about track position. Again, looking to thrust the nose of the Mercedes up the inside, but not close enough this time.
In 5th position, Craig Dolby is now under big pressure from Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Katzberg by the looks of things, because they've really managed to close in on that Nissan over the previous few laps. into Hawthorne. Continues this battle for 10th place. Bernd Schneider desperate to try and find a way through and get up into the top 10, which would be a decent result for them because they had to start that in 14th spot. Now here's the Nissan. Craig Dolby at the wheel showed good pace when he got in the car, setting purple lap times, but maybe that took too much out of his tyres because he's now under pressure from behind.
Yeah, I think that really is more about a tyre issue on the Nissan. They had a good set of tyres, very quick purple sector times, in fact, on the opening stint for Craig Dolby, but now finding himself dropping back into the clutches of the Marcus Winkelhock and Nicky Katzberg. Katzberg again still running very wide in the exit. He's had a warning about doing that.
So is Rob Bell now as well. So Bell, Brito and Katzberg have all had a warning over exceeding track limits. Now the challenge for the Audi here as Bernd Schneider attacks again, coming up into Druids. Not quite close enough, managed to get alongside, but was on the wrong part of the circuit as they drop down into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend. Out and Bernd Schneider going very wide. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets a warning flag as well pretty soon. Race leader comes through to start his 38th lap of the race and is still, well, I'll let you know when the second place car comes through, just to give you an idea of the advantage that Van Thor has out at the front. But this 10th place battle still brewing, and second place car comes across the line now, so that's 17 seconds, and then it's 5th, 6th and 7th, Dolby, Winkelhock, Katzberg, MRS, Phoenix and Reiter.
Remember, there's a 5-second penalty to be added to Marcus Winkelhock's time, so if he does get past Craig Dolby, he needs to pull a further 5 seconds for him to have that position confirmed, and there's still possibility that Nicky Katzberg's position might ultimately be in play as well.
Winkelhock looks to the outside, coming through Druids. Oh, not quite. They're both getting out of shape on the rundown now. Constantina's up. It must have been a bit of a tap there, I think, from the back of the Reiter Lamborghini. They'll both look to the inside as they come down. Katzberg switches back to the inside line. Goodness, Winkelhock came across. I thought there was going to be contact there, but they just about got away with it. That was cigarette paper thin. A shake of the head.
There was nothing winky about that, was there?
Absolutely not. And now Katzberg's attacking on the outside on the rundown. Pilgrim's drop. Can he outbrake him around the outside? He's going to try. Katzberg goes through in the Lamborghini. Great move from the Dutchman. He is up into 6th position on the road. He had the position anyway because of the 5-second penalty for Winkelhock, but now he's going to attack that Nissan in front.
And that's really what Nicky Katzberg has been focusing upon. Try and find a way past Marcus Winkelhock.
He's
runs
gone wide
out of Sheen Curve. Not a problem. He's going to get the car back into shape coming out of Stirling's Bend, and Marcus Winkelhock has had to concede position after a really, a fantastic battle. In fairness, it was more to do with Craig Dolby getting it out of shape coming out of Druids that allowed all that concertina effect. Sean Walkinshaw just keeping an eye on what his teammates doing.
And that's helped the Nissan a bit,
yes,
because
absolutely, it's given it a little bit of momentum. 4.5 minutes remaining.
Into Paddock Hill Bend they come, and Winkelhock will be fired up after that one. I genuinely thought they were coming together down the Cooper Straight that time. It must have been nothing at all between them as they then head down through into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend now. Lights ablaze on the MRS Nissan, that have had a very strong race weekend here. They had good pace last time out in Nogaro, but couldn't quite get it together in terms of the racing. As they up into Druids comes this continuing battle for 10th position. Up into the right-hander. It was a retirement in the first race and a 15th place in the second race for the MRS GT Nissan. So even if they only manage 5th here, that's still a very good result considering the weekend they had at Nogaro back in Easter weekend. But it could be maybe down to 6th place if Nicky Katzberg has anything to say about it, because he is pushing very hard. Through goes Sergio Jimenez, who's running in 4th place in the 0 BMW. Second is still Valdeno Brito in the and off there. Which one is that? It's number 4. It's Frank Stippler. So Stippler's gone off. I think he must have been by himself up at the right-hander of Sheen, because he was 3 seconds behind his teammate Stefan Ortelli. But now here comes the battle for 5th position. Nicky Katzberg pushing hard to try and get through. Can he get an overlap here? Not quite. Running down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. Dolby covers the inside line. Katzberg finds it anyway and manages to get past. Up into 5th position goes Nicky Katzberg. Really opportunistic stuff from the Dutchman. He impressed last year in the Blancpain Endurance Series, but look on the inside. There's going to be attack. No, not quite, from the Audi of Marcus Winkelhock. Dolby really having to wrestle with the car as they head out down through Pilgrim's Drop now towards Hawthorne Bend, the right-hander. John has gone down to speak to probably Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz, but who is going to finish in 5th and 6th position? We'll wait and see as they head through the right-hander. Great move that from Nicky Katzberg. It looked as though, I think Dolby thought he had the inside line covered, but he wasn't quite able to do it. Out onto the backstretch they come, into the final corner at Clearways. And this is, well, the frustration here for Marcus Winkelhock is even if he gets past, he's got a 5-second time penalty. Race leader, meanwhile, Laurens Vanthoor, is on to his penultimate lap of the race, which these guys are starting now. Into Paddock Hill Bend, there is Laurens Vanthoor. Dropping down the hill, and then up again, into the right-hander of Hawthorne. And what a wonderful performance this has been from the man who won the Blancpain Endurance Series last year. He won the overall Blancpain GT Championship last year. The combination of the Endurance and the Sprint Series wasn't really in contention at the end of the Sprint Series season because he and Cesar Ramos just couldn't get it hooked up on a Sunday. And so far this year, it looked as though they couldn't get it hooked up on a Friday either, after a crash at Nogaro saw them out for the weekend. There's 77, Valdeno Brito running in 2nd place. A very happy birthday for his teammate Attila Abreu, 28 today, and a nice 2nd place trophy will do the job. Race leader onto his final lap now, Laurens Vanthoor. Then we've got the 3rd place car of Rob Bell into Clearways. But here is our race leader through the Druids hairpin once again. A wonderful performance from Laurens Vanthoor, who has won the Sprint Championship in the past when it was the FIA GT Series. He and Stefan Ortelli, champions in 2013. Out they come. Down Pilgrim's Drop once more. It's been a commanding victory. And once Vanthoor got behind the wheel and WRT did their pit work, it's just been absolutely stunning stuff from the number 1 R8. In the early stages, Robin Freitz had to work hard to fend off the cars behind. But as the race progressed, it was the superb pit stop from the WRT squad. It was a second quicker than the Brazilians. It was about 10 seconds quicker than the McLaren team. Bononomi still having to defend from Bernd Schneider, who on the final lap of the race attacks going up into Druids. He's still going to win the Pro-Am class, Bernd Schneider. But now into the final corner comes Laurens Vanthoor. They struggled to win the main races all season in 2014, but their first shot at 2015 is a victory in the main race for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz. A great performance from them after not even getting to start the weekend in Nogaro for the first round of the year. They have been victorious here at Brands Hatch. 2nd place across the line, Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. 3rd across the line will be Rob Bell in the Attempto Racing McLaren. A good performance from them. 4th across the line there, Sergio Jimenez. Nicky Katzberg had a great recovery drive to finish in 5th place. The Nissan of Craig Dolby is going to hold on to 6th position, just ahead of 7th place Marcus Winkelhock. Stefan Ortelli is going to come home in 8th place. 9th position, will it still be Frank Stippler? We'll wait and see, but a very strong performance from the BMW Team Brazil guys. They've had 1 win and 2 seconds, and Bernd Schneider's through. Bernd Schneider has found a way past Bononomi on the final lap. The experienced 50-year-old German is going to take the checkered flag ahead of Bononomi in the ISR Audi. And there is the class winner in Silver Cup, Jules Simkowiak. 2nd in Pro-Am is the 888 BMW of Joe Osborne and Lee Moll. But what a drive all day really from Laurens Vanthoor. In 2 races they've won by a cumulative 40 seconds. 25 seconds in race 1, 15 seconds in race 2. Really special stuff from the number 1 WRT Audi. They're so good in the pit stops, and Vanthor is really turning into something else. As John was saying earlier, some of the drivers just can't really figure it out how he's going so quickly, because we have such a strong field here in the Blancpain GT Sprint Series, but none of them are strong enough to stop Laurens Vanthor, it seems. As they make their way now to speak to John. A hug with Robin Freins. As they congratulate everyone. And we saw the Laurens Vanthor pointing to the picture of JG Malvoy, one of the founders of the WRT Belgian Audi Club, and he died recently, and thoughts are, well, this win dedicated to him by Laurens Vanthor. The pictures of Malvoy on the side of the car. But we can now hear from our race winner, Laurens Vanthor. He's down with John.
Laurens Vanthor, Robin Freins, just utter domination. Where is it coming from?
Well, like I said before, I think we have a great team with WRT. It's known that they won I don't know how many championships, and with great pit stop, great engineers, great mechanics. They destroyed the car and they repaired it in a couple of hours. And together with Robin, I think we are a really good team, and that's the way I want to see it for the rest of the season.
Now, Robin, we were speculating in the commentary booth. You're new to GT racing, but you've won in everything you've raced in. How long is it going to be before you put your teammate under the cosh?
Well, hopefully soon, but he's too quick for me at the moment. I still need to learn a lot. GT is another world. Actually, I start from scratch again, even though I won quite a lot of championship. But I have a roof on me now, and well, we start from here.
Laurens, we noticed that you made a dedication to one of the team owners. He passed away recently. Anything you can say?
Yeah, this one is for him. We call him Mr. President, and we are his penguins. People who know him know what I'm talking about. And JG Malvoy was a very important person in my career. He helped me a lot, and it's sadly to see him go, but we must continue to work and do it for him.
I think he'd be very proud of both of you today. Well done.
Really strong performance from Vanthor and Freins. Bruce Jones has joined me in the commentary box, and it was absolutely commanding, wasn't it, Bruce?
Commanding, so commanding, it looked effortless. So much action down the field. They've had no action at all weekend. Chasing the first race by Nicky Katzberg, but apart from that, just pulled clear.
Let's hear now from the second place men, Valdeno Britta and Attila Abreu. Great performance from BMW Team Brazil.
Valdeno, another great performance for BMW Brazil today.
Yes, better than we expect. We did six plays at the qualifying. So if you tell me yesterday that you had 2 second place, I really maybe I would not believe, but we did a good job. The team did a very great job in the pit stops. You know that it's very important. We passed the McLaren in the pit, so I'm very happy. Last year, again, last year we lost the second position, and now 2 second place. But I want to dedicate that position to my mother. My mother is again with some healthy problems in Brazil. Now she's in the UTI. Mom, that's for you.
Well done, Valdeno. Attila, it is your birthday. We pointed that out earlier in the day. That's not a bad birthday present, second overall.
I would say really good present. We finished second in the first race. The Audi was disqualified, and right now we finished second again. We improved the car. I got a little bit more confident with the pace of the car, understand a little bit better. I was able to follow the car number 1 in the beginning. After that, lose a little bit the pace. The McLaren was faster. As soon as he arrived 5, I just let him go to don't lose so many time fighting with him, because we know that our team is really good on the pits, and probably we had a chance to overtake him on the pit stop. So that happened, was really good. And now Valdeno made it really good. He made like all the laps between 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's it. Let's commemorate. Let's celebrate my birthday.
Well, celebrate the birthday and enjoy many more successes in the future. Many well done. Thank you.
Great to hear from those two, and it's interesting they got promoted to second place, because that meant that the Nissan got promoted to third. And I was walking around the paddock and someone came up to me and said, we need to find out, how do we get our trophy? We deserve a trophy now. There's got to be a third place trophy somewhere. The third place trophy in this race will go the way of Rob Bell and Kevin Estre. It really was a superb drive from Kevin Estre and Rob Bell, and it looks as though they may have headed up to the podium already. There is the award. I think that's for the pit stop challenge for the WRT squad, taking victory there. And there's a nice €2,000. And also a very commanding race win was the other good result of their very, very fast pit stop indeed. Yes, I don't think we're going to hear from Kevin Estre and Rob Bell, unfortunately, because they have disappeared off to get ready to go to the podium. But a beautiful day at Brands Hatch and a beautiful race, and it was a shame for the Attempto team, new to the series, and pit stops are something that is quite unique actually in GT racing to the Blancpain series.
Yeah, and I think it's so sad that Kevin Estre's drive wasn't better rewarded, but as Rob Bell said to me, Kevin said to me actually, it's early in the season, we are still learning our way, but those lessons will be learned as long as each time they're going forward. But we saw on the podium WRT receiving the trophy for the check there for the best pit stop, and that's why they're the top team at the moment. Yep. One of the reasons. Yeah,
absolutely. They've been in this series a long time. Here's a look at the results after 42 laps of racing around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor winning by 14.1 seconds over the BMW Team Brazil car of Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito. Kevin Estre and Rob Bell completing the podium. Fourth place for Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez in fifth place. Great drive from Nicky Katzberg to fight his way past the Phoenix Audi and then the MRS Nissan towards the end of the race. Sixth place for the Nissan of Walkinshaw and Dolby. They'll be pretty pleased with that considering how Nogaro went for them. Raquelme Nortelli finished 0.3 of a second ahead of Meyer Manhoff and Winkelhock, because Meyer Manhoff and Winkelhock got given a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. James Nash and Frank Stippler finishing in 9th, with Alexei Kadachev and Bernd Schneider completing the top 10, which means that Bononomi and Salaquadra are the last point scorers in the pro class. Olivier Lombard and Jules Sinkoviak completing the top 12. Then in 13th place we had Marco Asma and Alexei Vasiliev. They finished second in the Pro-Am class. It was Bernd Schneider who won the Pro-Am. Enzo Eid and Christopher Meese have had a real day to forget. The Fjordbrack brothers finishing in 15th position ahead of Lee Mole and Joe Osborne. And then we lost the Marco Seefried, Norbert Siedler, Rinaldi Ferrari in the very early stages, seemingly after some sort of suspension problem at Paddock Hill Bend, because they just got spat off into the gravel. So onto the top step of the podium come Robin Freins and Laurens Vanthoor, victors in the main race, and by my calculations that's going to send them to the top of the championship. The perfect weekend, a pole and 2 wins. Second place for Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu for BMW Team Brazil. They're very happy with that. And then third place for Rob Bell and Kevin Estre. Good to have an Englishman on the podium at the United Kingdom round of the Blancpain Sprint Series. And there's the WRT Audi representative coming out onto the top step, and it's time for the Belgian national anthem. Top of the podium for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freins, and it's nice to hear Robin Freins sort of admitting that I don't have the pace of Laurens Vanthoor at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of drivers cross over to GT3 cars and find them much harder. Some take a whole season to get a real grip of them, and then once they've got there, they understand what they needed to do. But it's not always an instant change. But a driver of that calibre will always get to the top.
Third place trophies for Kevin Estre and Rob Bell. Second place trophies for Valdeno Brito and Attila Abreu. Such a great team atmosphere in that BMW Team Brazil squad. But their first main race trophies of the season, Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz hold their trophies aloft on the top step at Brands Hatch. They move to the lead of the championship as we head to the next round in Zolder in June. And they all hold their trophies aloft. And a really strong performance. And now it's time for the champagne on the podium. They were posing for some photos, well, the Brazilians were posing for some photos, but the McLaren boys got bored with all that, and that is a proper champagne spray on the podium. Robin Freitz over the moon, his second victory. Now, it's still that 100% record, isn't it?
Yeah. The stumble at the first hurdle at Nogaro. Sorry to bring that up again, Robin. But then here at Brands Hatch, a circuit he's never been to before, and he absolutely has delivered. And after the champagne, using the Czechs perhaps, Stefan Rattel, as a barricade to keep the champagne off him, heading out, because of course it's not just trophies in Blancpain, but good Czechs too.
You know you're in an all right place when you can use a Czech as like a shield. I wouldn't be able to do that. As he comes out onto the podium to hand over the prize money, which is one of the many, I suppose, differentiating factors with the Blancpain Sprint and Endurance Series, the prize money that is available. And it's 30,000 euros for Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz on the top step. A really strong performance. And Valdeno Brito saying, no, this isn't going to you. We're taking this home. And then 10,000 euros for Rob Bell and Kevin Estre in third place at the end of that.
But isn't it great? 3 different manufacturers on the podium, and many more queuing up behind. I think this mix is just getting better and better in Blancpain.
Yeah, absolutely right. As they depart the podium then, Laurens Vanthoor and Robin Freitz. So Middy's heading out onto the track here at Brands for one of the support races in a day that has been very well supported actually here by the fans at Brands. A good attendance for this doubleheader Blancpain Sprint Series. Robin Freitz and Laurens Vanthoor move to the top of the championship. They've picked up the maximum 34 points this weekend. They're now 1 point clear of their Monegasque teammates Stefan Ortelli and Stefan Rakelmi. Max Martin and Dirk Muller, after their one-off appearance in Nogaro, are still in third. Attila Abreu and Valdeno Brito are fourth in the championship after a strong weekend here at Brands Hatch. Bell and Estre completing the top 6. Here's a look back at the main race then. It was a great start from Robin Freitz, holding the lead of the race. Then a great attack as well from Kevin Estre. Looked as though he might get through into second place, past the BMW Team Brazil cars in front, but it wasn't quite to be. He would then have to work hard to get past them a little bit later in the race. It was reasonably clean, a bit of a spin for the Bentley coming out of Druids, but apart from that, it was all nicely done. This was the view from the back of the 333 Rinaldi racing car of Marco Seifried, who started the race. Then that was the spin from the 83 car of Olivier Lombard, lost it all by himself. And then here was what we think looks like a mechanical problem for Marco Seifried, because he seemed to be pretty much through the corner. It then suddenly snapped away from him the other way, and then they retired that Ferrari 458 from the race.
They came back in, they thought it was a puncture. He went out, did one lap, brought it back in, the car put in the garage. So I'm sure Marco has no worries, it was not a puncture, it was something else.
Then we saw Kevin Estre make a move to get past the first of the BMW Team Brazil cars. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff and Albert von Turnen Taxis were having a great little squabble. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff pushing the limits, and for that, in the end, the Phoenix team would get a drive-through penalty and a 5-second penalty. Then Kevin Estre made another move to get past the 77 car of Attila Abreu and up into second place. But at the pit stops, it was a slow pit stop from Attempto Racing, so as a result, the 55 car would drop back, but not before entertaining us a little bit. Great stuff from Kevin Estre, pushing really hard on the exit of Sterling's. And then when the McLaren came out of the pits, it was behind the two Brazilian BMWs. There were still battles going on. This was a great move from Simkowiak, going up the inside of the 74 ISR car of Thomas Fjordbach. And then towards the end of the race, the battle was on for 10th. Bernd Schneider trying to force his way through, but just unable to do so.
This was an absolutely brilliant battle with Nicky Katzberg grabbing the moment when it was presenting itself, a battle ahead of him, and he used that momentum, got on out of Surtees really quickly, and look, the move, would he make it stick before Hawthorne's a fearsome corner, and just enough to hold on.
Absolutely, and then he pounced up the inside of the Nissan as well, going into Graham Hill Bend. While all that was happening, Robin Freitz and Lawrence Vanthoor cruised home to take victory and the lead of the championship in the Blancpain Sprint Series. From myself, Jack Nicholls, John Watson and Bruce Jones, thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the 7th of June in Zolder, Belgium.